Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another check-in. It has been a couple of weeks since my last update, and I have so much to share with you all. From the craziness of my always packed schedule to a massive stack I had on a run last week, along with all of my tracking data. But before we dive into that, I just wanted to take a moment to thank you all for the incredible support that you show me here on YouTube and over on Instagram. I am so grateful to be able to bring you the latest insights on nutrition and exercise science, along with practical tips to help you stay on track with your wellness goals. So, if you've enjoyed the content that I share and would like to support my work, please consider checking out my products and services, whether it's my educational books, the recipe guides, glute bands, my BiaFit workout app, one-on-one coaching, BiaBrain, any of those things. Every purchase truly makes a difference, and it allows me to keep making content accessible for everybody. So before we dive into all of my tracking data, a quick reminder about my upcoming 6-week Slay the Holiday program. So this program starts next Monday, so it's the 11th of November. The program is intended to help support you through the busiest season of the year, so it'll take you right through to just before Christmas. So you'll get access to workout programs at home and in the gym, and mobility, upper body, lower body programs. You'll have access to weekly live Q&As, and you can also watch those later, submit questions if you're not able to attend in person. Not to mention an incredible community. You'll have access to me all the time and you can ask questions, and you'll also get educational guides and basically teach you how to do what it is that I do. So 6-week Slay the Holiday program that's starting next Monday. If you haven't signed up, you've got to do it. It's $59. So super affordable to make sure that you guys can all participate as we lead into the busy holiday period. And we've also just launched our latest issue of BiaBrain, which is our monthly research subscription. So every month we review 4 topics. 2 of these are usually in the nutrition sciences space. The other 2 are in exercise science. This month's issue is awesome. I really found some of these super interesting. There's one about capillaries and muscle growth as we age, and I was like, whoa, mind blown. So if you aren't a subscriber, go and check that out. We've also decided to launch these as a la carte articles. So if you don't want to renew as a subscriber where you are charged monthly, you can also look at these a la carte. So you can simply pick the articles that you care about, listen to them, read them. They come in both formats. They're very convenient, super handy for anybody that is a professional, too busy to actually sit down and read journals yourself. We obviously do that groundwork for you. So if you aren't familiar with BiaBrain, you can go and check that out on my website. Okay, so let's dive into the data and what has been going on in my life. Well, it's been super fun, actually. The last couple of weeks have been crazy, crazy, crazy. They always are. I think it's my new norm, and I'm finding it's okay. Life is livable with a few key strategies, which I'll talk to you a little bit about this week. But I guess the first thing that's super exciting was that I realized that I need to create a set, because this sucks. Like, I'm sitting in my spare room right now. There's a bed, there's flowers. It's just like, nah. So I am going to basically, I guess, deck this entire room out as a set. And I have started putting together like a mood board, which I'm super pumped for. It's got like the neon lights, you know, the cool like background or backing where you can like stick it onto your walls. It just looks cool. So that's been really fun. And we're also going to be starting a podcast. So we're still in the makings. We have a few ideas about what names we want to call ourselves. Obviously, you guys might be familiar with my old podcast, Beauty and the Geek, which I did with my ex-husband. It's still around there somewhere, but we're obviously doing something brand new this time. And yeah, I guess we need to come up with a name and all the things. So I don't know if you all will have any experience in podcasting names or even like decor. Hit me up. Because it's been a struggle. I think there's like certain styles that I like, but it's like, oh my God, you know, when you're just so busy, you don't have time to like search for everything. If you've got good products or like just stuff that you think would be cool or guests that you would like me to interview, I have my own list, but I would love to hear from you guys about who you found really enjoyable to listen to on other podcasts. Obviously, that's where I want to start. I want to make sure that I'm bringing in people that are able to educate you on the topics that you care about. So if you feel confident in doing so, please drop me a comment. I would love to hear from you, as I know there are incredible guests out there that I probably have no idea about because I live in my own bubble and I don't have enough time to do all of the research. So feel free to drop me some comments if you've got ideas for podcast setup, names, or guests as we, I guess, recreate this space. It's going to be super fun. So that's been on the agenda this past week, and I guess we've been doing all kinds of filming. What did I do? Saturday this past week, we spent a good several hours filming new content, which is always fun and has been, oh man, I was like hanging on by the skin of my teeth over the last couple of weeks because I didn't have any content filmed. It's been so busy, and like for me to sit down, knuckle out a few really good pieces and, you know, obviously put in the quality meat and potatoes, like the stuff that's really important rather than just skim the surface, is probably a little bit more time consuming than like most, like just Instagram or TikTok social media. It's maybe not as popular to maybe the wider community, but I'm also like, yeah, I'm not trying to target everybody. Like I want people who really care about like advancing their knowledge and want to learn something new or like have more understanding of a common topic that people are aware of, but they haven't really known the ins and outs. So yeah, this past weekend was really fun. I got to put together maybe 6 or 7 new pieces that will be sprinkled out on YouTube over the next couple of weeks. So stay tuned for that. I think we'll be doing 2 posts per week on some really good topics. But goodness, training. Nutrition. Oh, what are those things? I think you can probably see my data behind me right now. It's messy, it's ugly. You can see I'm obviously still not tracking macros, and I will continue to not track macros in my off season. I don't even know whether I could fit that in. I'm thinking about what would have to go in order for me to track macros. I think like over the course of the week, and I tracked this one time in like a 2022 prep, I think it was, because I was so curious to find out how many hours of my life I was spending like putting together recipes in the app, tracking the quantities, learning the portions, and then making sure I didn't go over or exceed my targets. And one of my preps, it worked out again. I just did it like 2 weeks in a row, and it was about 3 hours on average, which is crazy. I'm like, imagine what I could do with 3 hours of my life. Like that's a nail appointment. That's a hair appointment. That's maybe get a massage. That's maybe just lay on the couch and do nothing for an hour and scroll social media, because none of those things like I am doing right now. I think I barely squeezed in time to go and like have my hair extensions taken out a few weeks back. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so behind. So yeah, I don't know that I could actually track macros right now without something significant like needing to go, or at least something that's urgent and important. So not tracking has been so helpful. So I guess, you know, a lot of people are probably struggling with that. And I wanted to give you some insights as to what you might do if you are so time poor or just busy, or it's an unusual, it could be an atypical week. It's not, you know, it might not be your norm, but maybe you've had a few things kind of thrown your way and just like, oh my God, how do I do it all? I think the reality would be you don't have to do it all. I think modifying your expectations and knowing that you don't have to be perfect. Sometimes it's more about thinking about the bigger picture and your bigger picture health goals, and maybe this fits into that. You know, it's taking the time to rest and recover. Maybe that's exactly what your body needs. But for me, when I am busy, I think I bring it all back to prioritizing the basics. So am I getting enough sleep? Am I getting enough hydration? Am I eating enough protein? Now, I can reflect on my past 2 weeks and go, sleep. Let's go and have a look at that. Okay, so I think I've got it pulled up here. I'm going to blow this up just so it's a little bit bigger. Oh, that might be too big. Hang on, let me blow it back down. There we go. So you can see here I've highlighted on the screen the last 2 weeks of my sleep hours or total sleep quantity. So we've got 6, 7, 5, 6, 6, 7. There's a few 5s here. Oh my God, this is a crazy week. I was doing some stuff for my APD, and I think I was up until like 2 a.m. after a full day of work trying to get it all done. But anyway, sleep has been so challenging. I think like every night I crawl into bed and I would say to Sam, I'm like, oh, it'd be so nice to go to bed before midnight. Not a reality, but I have certainly been very conscious of it. And there have been a couple of nights where I've got a long laundry list of things that I had on my to-do list for a given day. And I might end up having to just say, okay, you're not going to get all these things done today, because I was trying to fit it into like my normal work week. So the reality has been, okay, I'm just going to move some of those things over. I'm going to have to do them on the weekend, and you're just going to have to be okay with that. The old Holly would just, be so annoyed, so frustrated. I would be so like overwhelmed, like, just that feeling of I can't do enough. And now I'm just like, okay, well, cool, do it on the weekend. Not my preferred way to do things, but sometimes you have to be flexible and make some adjustments. So sleep I've tried to make it a priority, and you can see like I've gotten to the point where I know I have to be up in, 5 hours. I'm like, go to bed. That's it. You're done. That's it. So it's still challenging, but I have been doing better than perhaps what I was a few weeks ago. The next thing I mentioned was hydration. So there was a couple of days where I guess I was busy, and I'd just forgotten to set myself up with a water at least, and then a couple of sodas. And I looked down and it was maybe 4 p.m. in the afternoon, and I might have had like 1 can of soda or something. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So, just being cognizant of that. And there's an app that you can get on your phone. If you are somebody that is very forgetful about having water because you're busy, distracted, it's so easy to do, there are apps that you can actually get that will give you like a little cue, and it might be like a bubbling water fountain or something. Not a horrible blasting alarm, although I have used that for meal timing during preps before, but that might be like the gentle little cue that you need to remind yourself. And again, habit stacking. If it's not in your habit yet to like put together a bottle of water and then like organize all of your fluids for the day, stack it with something else that you're already doing consistently every day. It's already habitual, and you just, you're going to do it, like picking up your cars to drive to work or dropping the kids off at school. So, you might be just, you put a little note or something next to the keys that just sits there because you always have your keys in the same spot, and it just reminds you to do that thing. It was like my experience with me learning to put my watch back on after having not tracked steps for a long time. So you've got to pair it with something that you do all the time so that you remember to do it. So hydration, that's been top priority for me, as I know I was getting really dehydrated. And the frustrating thing about that is you also tend to, when you're dehydrated, you can confuse that for hunger. So I found myself, especially on those couple of days, I was going to the kitchen a little more, and I'm like, why? Don't think I'm hungry, and I'm thirsty. So, those two things can be confused with one another. So hydration is so important. And then protein, it's so simple. Have protein in at least 2 of your meals, like a good 30-gram portion. And then hopefully you've got some other snacks and things that you can have that also will get you up to your portion, your protein range. So I have stopped shooting for perfection. As long as I'm in that protein range in my off season, I am so happy with that. Now, if I've got extra time to plan and prepare and have all of the protein snacks, that's great. But at least as I'm going throughout the day, every meal that I have, I'm like, okay, how are you going to get some protein into this meal? And it might be, I don't feel like having some protein. I want to have something that's more carb based, for instance. So I'll have whatever it is that I want, and then I just might supplement it with like a protein drink. So I might have like a ready to drink shake with it instead. So, the shake is the least important or the least thing that I'm looking forwards to. I've had something that I'm, I desire that's going to hit my, satiety up here. And then I've got some protein as the insurance policy. And then I guess also thinking about just prioritizing the basics. Some movement is better than none. So obviously in an ideal world, I would love to be training 4 or 5 times a week. And if we go and have a look at my data here for the last couple of weeks, we'll switch back over to the summary sheet so that you can see that a little bit better. I've had a week here where I only did, let's go find the green. Yes, we're looking at the right week. Both weeks, in fact, so the last 2 weeks, I've gotten 4 workouts in. But you can see here, some of these are a little bit shorter. This one's like a 60-minute workout, a 67-minute workout. That is short for me, only because I've been, doing 4 bigger sessions so that I don't have to do a 5th or a 6th day to get in the volume on the muscle groups that I still want to be able to grow. And again, to optimize muscle growth for an advanced lifter, we really want to be pushing for, 20 plus hard working sets taken to or very near to failure. So to do that on all the muscle groups that I want to see improvements on, I really need at minimum 4 days to get that done. Otherwise, I end up doing too much within a single session. And, beyond a certain training volume, once you've done a certain number of sets, and again, if they're effective, high intensity sets that are taken close or to failure, you're not going to get any more out of doing more in one session, certainly not the same muscle group. So these sessions the past couple of weeks have been a little bit short for me. And you can see here, even my energy expenditure, what have we got here? 1800. Oh, this week's not so bad, 2149. But I know I've been distracted. Some of these have been maybe just lingering around at the gym, or they're in a random facility. I still haven't found a gym, by the way. So I am still training between 3 different locations, and I can't decide where I want to get a membership. I'm thinking I'll probably just get one across all of them because each facility either doesn't have certain things, but then they've got a couple of pieces that I'm like, oh, that's like gold. And then I'll, have to go to another one to find like this piece of equipment. So it's very annoying that I can't find one location that's got like all the things, but I don't know that exists. I think you'd have to go to a pretty massive gym with like a machine obsessed individual to find that perhaps. But anyhows, my training has not been as long as I would like, and certainly I haven't had as many options to go into the gym. So kind of coming back to, prioritizing the basics, especially as we come into these holiday seasons, I think, just set mini realistic goals. So something is better than nothing, even if you have to cut your sessions short and it's only a 30-minute resistance training session. That is better than not going at all. And my old mentality used to be, if I've got something on, or, if I felt like I was too squished or pressured for time, I would end up not doing it, because it's like, well, I can't do the full session. It's not perfect. It's not how I normally do it. And I was so inflexible in that regard. So, nowadays, if I have 30 minutes, I'm like, okay, I'll pick 4 exercises and I'll make sure that I'm efficient. I'll do 60-second rests and that'll be good enough. So setting those kind of miniature goals, whether it's decreased frequency, decreased intensity, something is better than nothing. And then I'll also say during the day, if you're really busy, and you can see here, again, we'll now take a look at my steps. My averages for the past 2 weeks have been 9,000 steps on average and 9,000. So you can see here there are individual days where I'm at 4,000 steps, two occasions this past week. There was no walking on those days. And then the previous week, 4, 5, 5. So I've had very sedentary days, and my beautiful morning walks have been a luxury. So not every day I've been able to get those in, which is something that I'm definitely missing. I love that time. I get to go outside, get some fresh air, vitamin D, all the good stuff. And it's just good for my mental health. So I haven't been able to do that as much, but you can also consider just taking quick 5-minute breaks. The last 2 weeks for me, because I haven't been able to get up and get going and walking, I've had to sit down to the computer, run interviews, those types of things. I haven't been able to do that. So during the day, I have a little dog who's sitting behind me over here. I'm just like, oh, I'll take her out for a few minutes. She can go to the bathroom, and I do that like 5 or 6 times, and it gets me moving. And I'll probably do, 700 steps, walking to the elevators, walking across the lobby, going outside over to the dog park area, take her to the bathroom, and then I might take her and do a couple of little laps, and then I'll come back in. So it's not my normal, but at least it's getting me something. And again, the old version of me, no, it wouldn't have been good enough. Absolutely not. What's the point? I've kind of had to adjust my mentality around that. And I think for so many of us, especially women that go from having no children to children, what an adjustment. So being flexible in that regard and learning to, be adaptable, and pivot when you need to is critical to being able to maintain, your sense of self-care. So I guess looking to my cardio for the last couple of weeks, you can see I've been trying to sneak in some runs, and that was something that I was like, I am so committed to this goal. I want to be able to run again. I have, so many great memories of running, and I just stopped doing it when I moved to the States. I always used to run. Never anything super crazy, 5-kilometer runs max. I don't know what that is in miles. Is it 3.6 miles to a kilometer? Anyway, or to 5 kilometers, 3.6 miles. Anyhow, 16, 17, 18, 19-minute runs has kind of been what I've been focusing on in these early, introductory weeks. And at about that 2-mile mark is kind of when I can start to feel like my body is like, oh, this is starting to get really hard. So that's kind of where I've been drawing the line. But Oh gosh, last week Sam and I were out running, and I guess after the hurricanes and all of the flooding, so the Bayshore, which is where I usually go and run here in Tampa, it is completely underwater, like the whole street. So there's a double-sided lane here, and then there's a big island, and then double-sided lanes on the other side, and then there's all the homes. It's a beautiful spot, but it gets roasted during hurricane season. So it's all underwater. Anyway, that footpath is where we go and run, and I didn't notice, but as I was running, I just like clipped something and just came down so hard. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, who falls over when they're running? Like, not me. So anyway, as I'm like crying on the ground, like I was like, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry. And I'm like, oh. But like my whole knee was just like, I'll probably have a picture of this, like blood running down, and like I didn't break anything, thank gosh, but oh my God, my toe. So I go back to where I feel like I tripped, and the footpath, I guess they're like, when they lay the concrete, it's like, you know, slabs, like, you know, big cubic blocks or whatever. And the slab that I fell over on was like, it had dropped down by like, I don't know, a good 6 to 7 inches. So I was obviously like just talking to Sam or something, and then I'm like, what? And I stubbed my toe, and oh my God, that was even more painful than my elbow and my shoulder and my hip. That was all like black and bruised. So yeah, I was like, oh no. And then my knee for the next like week has been so tender. So I've just had to baby it in the gym for the next couple of days. But I was proud of myself. I got back up and I like walked it out for a little bit. And then I was like, you know, I think I can run. But it was like, you know, when you know you've done damage to a bone, as I could feel my heel like strike the ground, like the pain in like my patella, like my kneecap. I was like doof, doof, doof every single stride. But it's all good now. It's just bruised, and I look like a scabby school kid, you know. So it's been a hot minute since I've had a big tumble like that. So I definitely will be more cautious now when I'm out running. So I'm almost going to contact the council and be like, hey guys, like, have you looked at the pathway? So yeah, that was a bit of an experience, but it has not deterred me. I will continue to run. So I guess if we look over at my weekly combined energy expenditure, and again, I want to kind of just remind you guys, like, these are my estimated energy tracks from my watch based on my metrics. I hope that you're not looking at my data and going, oh, like I should be doing more, I should be doing less. It's certainly not the case. You know, depending on your body size and your lean body mass, that's going to be the greatest predictor of your energy expenditure when you're moving your body. So even if you and I did the same run at the perceived rate of intensity the same, it's very likely that our energy expenditures would be quite different. So I don't want you to look at this and go, oh, well, I should be doing around that many calories. I've got some clients that do like 3 times that number because they're a bigger body, you know, they have more muscle than I do. So yeah, I have clients that are 100 pounds or less, and you know, their weekly energy expenditures are closer to 2,000. So it's all very individualized, but I think it's helpful to track that week to week for yourself. And even me coming back and looking at my data, as I was doing this today, I was like, you know what, I'm really glad that I'm still kind of checking in at least bi-weekly. I haven't always been as, I guess, strict in tracking training in my off season. I've always been really strict, interestingly, tracking my nutrition. So I've kind of turned the tables a little bit, and maybe I should, because this is honestly what's more important in your off season. It's getting, you know, consistent lifts, quality lifts, optimized volume, and hopefully some consistent energy availability to make sure that your sessions, you know, are high quality sessions. So the last 2 weeks, I'm kind of surprised, you know, they came in around the same number, 3,700 in the first week, and then 3,800 in the most recent week. And reflecting back on what I was doing right before my competition, it was around 5,500, which is what I was shooting for. So you can see big, noticeable drop off, you know, after a competition season. So I guess kind of thinking about not tracking macros, and I'm bouncing back and forth. I've got a few notes here that I wanted to make sure I hit on this week so that I didn't forget. But when you're not tracking macros, and I'm sure many of you still are, and there's nothing wrong with that. Some of you might be in a different phase. You're going through fat loss, and it's the most accurate way to do things. So good on you. But for non-tracking, I think some of the simple things that you can do just to kind of make sure that you stay on course. And again, I've had weeks and periods, maybe days, where I've just found like my nutrition has just gone gone way off course. Like I've just done a full 180 in the wrong direction to kind of bring myself back around. I try to just choose nutrient-rich foods for, most of my meals when I can. So I don't deprive myself of the fun stuff. I still have like every flavored spread, every chocolate chip flavoring in my cupboard and cookies and all the good stuff. But I just try and make sure that like the bulk of my meals are coming from fresh vegetables. Today, I had some fruits that were, on the way out. I probably need to throw them out in the next couple of days. I'm like, don't waste that. Like, have some fruit, Holly. So, my morning snack, even though I didn't really want to have yogurt, I'm like, all right, throw some sweetener in, put some yogurt in, put some fruit in. I think I had banana, blueberries and raspberries and blackberries that were about to kind of start going bad. And then I just I sprinkled a bit of like granola or something over the top and some drizzle. I can't remember what spread it was. Oh, the sunflower butter. Loving that lately, by the way. So yeah, just keeping it nutrient rich when possible. We can be, really specific and track accurately, and that's great if you need to be doing that. But outside of, an intentional fat loss goal, or even at the beginning or early stages of fat loss for some people, it's not necessary. But, if you're making healthy choices and, foods that are moderate, to low in calories, you're probably doing 90% of the things right. So that was one of the points that I wanted to remind you of. As you can see, my weeks are certainly far from perfect. We have had so many things going on and moving pieces as always. And, in light of that, I think it's so easy to kind of get focused on all the things that you didn't do. And, I would say that for the most part, like I'm a pretty optimistic person, but that's not how I've always been. It took a lot of intentional work and focus to kind of flip that around. I definitely haven't always been this optimistic or half glass full person. So, if you've had a week where things didn't go perfectly, just try to remind yourself that, most of these things that are kind of coming and passing through our life, they're usually all rather temporary. It's not permanent. It's a seasonal thing. So, once life calms down a little bit, you can always resume your normal training. So that's kind of the mentality that I've had to have over the last couple of weeks. Some of you guys know, if you watched last week's or the weeks prior check-in, I've completely restructured my company. We're kind of moving more towards a different, approach for our coaching. So, with that being said, there's been so much change. So if there wasn't already physical change in me literally moving locations and like starting life here, there has been like major business company-wide structural changes. So I've been doing more interviews and hiring people, and that's not something that I normally have to do in the company. Like I try to focus on content and nutrition, coaching, and being a good one at that. So there's been so much disruption, and I could look at this last, couple of months, feels like a year to be honest, at least post competition, and be really down about it and, frustrated or, just worried about, my body weight changing a little bit, which by the way, crazy. I hopped on the scale just before I did this video check-in. I'm like, okay, strip down. All right, let's see where I'm at. I've already eaten like 2 meals at this point. My weight is still, I think it was 142 point something rather this morning. So it's 1.2 pounds higher than 2 weeks ago. But I've already eaten and I haven't done any exercise today at all. I just started work and, got into it. So normally, I think outside of that context, I think I'm probably still sitting around the same. And, it kind of makes sense. Even though I haven't been strictly tracking my nutrition over here, like there is no way my calorie intakes have been consistent for the last 2 weeks, like day to day. I know for a fact I'm getting to my protein target on most days. I'd say at least 5 out of 7 days I'm nailing my protein because I'm so intentional about that. When I go to the groceries, I'm like picking every protein source I possibly can, and then that's how I start and formulate my meals. But, my carbs and fats and my overall calories, I've really just focused on being mindful. So, and that doesn't just go for, the concept of, well, I'm being mindful so I don't overeat. It's also being mindful so that I don't undereat, because there have been days where I've gotten to like 3 in the afternoon and I'm like, oh my God, did I have breakfast today? No, I just had a coffee. So like being mindful in that, make sure that you're getting enough calories so that I'm not even more tired at the end of the day. And if that's the only time I've got left to train, then I really hope I've had enough food so that I can go and do that successfully. So I think we do have to be focused on being really mindful. Celebrate the small wins. I'm looking at this past week and going, damn, yeah, I got 4 sessions in. They weren't perfect by any stretch of the imagination. The exercises, because I've been training in gyms that I'm not really like overly keen about, the movements, the machinery, the atmosphere, like they're okay, but I'm getting it done, and I have to look at this in the bigger picture. I have to kind of reflect and, think about like why I'm doing this, and reframe my thoughts, because it's easy to go in that negative direction. So if you're on that struggle bus too, like I'm right there with you. And if you've got questions or you feel like you need some extra support, start by making a comment. Reach out. Don't do this alone. It's really tough when you feel like you're in this kind of pit and you haven't got anybody to reach out to and support. And I have many clients that are in a community of people that they've known for a really long time, and they might be the only person that's really interested in fitness or exercise, and they're loving it. Like they feel like they're thriving, but they're doing it alone, and they don't have a spouse that's interested in exercise either. So if you are that person, please reach out, send me a DM, hit me up with an email, put a comment here if you're comfortable doing so. I will always, to the best of my ability, respond where I can. To wrap up, just another little quick reminder, if you aren't subscribed to BiaBrain, go and check that out at least, or have a look at the a la carte issues. As I mentioned earlier, your support for any of those products and services allows me to keep providing you free content here on YouTube and Instagram. Slay the holidays. We've got like under 7 days now to get signed up to do that program together. Our last challenge had close to 200 women, and I think a couple of men as well. They were joining the lives, and it has been awesome. The community in these groups are the most like bustling, communicative, outspoken group I've ever worked with, and I had a lot of fun in these challenges. So people are sharing recipes, they're putting up their progress pictures, they're talking about their wins, they're supporting each other if they've had a tough day. It's been really, really awesome. So slay the holidays. It's a 6-week, short and sweet. You get access to my programs at home or gym based. There's mobility programs included. You'll get an educational work guide, weekly Q&As, and I'm sure there's something I forgot. Oh yeah, free recipe books. There's a bunch of things that are included in that program. So for $59, I think that's pretty good value leading up to a busy holiday season. So I guess that's all from me, guys. I have no idea how the next several days are going to go for me, but I'm taking one day at a time, and I'm doing my best that I possibly can every single day, and giving myself a bit of grace, when things don't always go perfectly. So I will continue to pursue that mentality, and hopefully it continues to get a little bit easier. So until 2 weeks time from now, have a great week, and I'll see you then. Bye guys.